in Tacoma, Washington, back in around the I'd say 1840s to 1860s, right around there.
Mm.
And it was right in Tacoma. That's where the ships would come in and they would dock. So you have
Mm.
sailors. And this building originally was an old hotel, which upstairs in the hotel was a brothel for many years. The basement was a tavern, and then at a certain
Mm.
point, it turned into a speakeasy. And after I did some research, there was actually some people who were killed in the bar downstairs, and there was a couple prostitutes were murdered in the hotel part. And in case
Right.
like with me, I would be there after that first initial encounter with that. Sometimes I'd be down there late because I was the general manager, and I was down there sometimes 11, 12 o'clock at night doing either bookwork or repairing something. And I'd be down there, and I'd be in my office, and I'd hear footsteps because the bottom floor was a retail store. And then
Mm.
there was still the staircase that went upstairs to the offices, and then if you go up, and there's a couple of stairs where the hotel used to be. It's all been gutted out because it was unsafe. And I'd be down there late at night, and it happened like 2, 3 times. I would hear footprints steps going up the stairs.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
just one, but it sounded like 3 or 4
Mm-hmm.
people and muffled talking. I'd run out of my office,
Right.
run around
Yes.
the corner. Nobody was there. And after like the
Yeah.
third time that happened, no way would I stay there after closing. I didn't care. I mean, when the store closed, I was gone. Then after about 15 years, the owners finally admitted to me that the place was haunted. And I said, well, gee, I figured that out after about 30 employees come and gone after all these years,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
something was going on.
Yeah. Well, I know you're not alone, and I've had people come to me and sort of say, well, I think our home is haunted, or I sense somebody there, and usually we see it out of the peripheral of our eyes, which is, if you're looking forward, it's just that point behind your eyes, and usually when we look to the left or to the right, whatever it is disappears. And I know sometimes I've had that when I've been staying somewhere. I get up in the middle of the night, and of course I'm one of those people that when I go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, I don't want to put the light on or anything like that, so I walk around in the dark. And sometimes I've had that where I've walked through somebody, and even for me, with the work I do, that can be a bit sort of, okay, I'm wide awake now, and then I'll go to look and there's nobody there. But it's just, some places have spirits all the time. Sometimes people, when there's someone like me around, they just go, oh, there's this little beaming light. This person can see me, so let's go and introduce myself or say hi. And so that can happen. When you were saying about, evil spirits, I love that scene in Sixth Sense with Bruce Willis when he's going on down into the underground, and the person's trying, not Sixth Sense, I think it was, the one with Demi Moore and Patrick Swayze, where he was down in the tube station, and the angry spirit was there, and he learned how to, that if he did this, he could make things move, and he could actually make a lot of noise and stuff like that, and that was his way of trying to get his wife to realize that there was something wrong. So yes, there's a lot of energy that's taken to do something like that. When this kind of thing happens, I would suggest to somebody, if it's something that's happening in their home and it becomes a disruption to your home, then go and seek some advice from somebody that does this kind of thing, whether it's through a church or a clairvoyant or somebody that does house clearings, that kind of thing. Because yes, it can be very disruptive and it can be very uncomfortable. I think most of us have probably seen the movie Amityville Horror.
Oh, yeah.
And nobody wants to have anything like that happening, but we know it's happened, and there have been cases where this kind of thing has happened to other people in other situations. So, yes, sadly, just as we walk this earth with good and not so good people, the same happens in spirit. So,
yeah, I was talking to somebody the other night, and she was telling me that that she would, all of a sudden get scratches on her, and
Yeah,
and
they can be very physical.
And she was saying that her boyfriend started thinking maybe she, needed a straitjacket at one point. And then all of a sudden he saw on her leg, she was saying all of a sudden she got a scratch right in front of him and her hands weren't anywhere near it. And then, then the scratch kind of like 15 minutes went away. But he saw it. And as soon as he saw that, he realized, hey, there is things going on.
Yeah. And that's why I always say call the experts in. Whether it's your church, whether somebody does house clearings, there's people out there that know how to deal with this kind of thing. It certainly wouldn't be something I would become involved in because it's way out of my sphere. So.
Yeah. Now, with you, can you, like my mom's been dead now for about 25 years. Can I go to somebody and, find out how my mom's doing and how, is that possible or not possible or?
You certainly can. And, part of what I do and I share with people, I'm only here to prove that life does go on past the grave. And, when people come to me for a reading or, I'm giving a reading to somebody, I say, I can't guarantee who's going to come through. And, sometimes people have said to me, well, I was hopeful my mum would come through. I was hopeful my gran would come through, and they didn't come through during the reading, yet other members of the family did. And I said, well, I try to think of it like this, that, sometimes we call a friend and we get voicemail. It doesn't mean that they don't love us. It's just they're off doing something else.
Yeah.
And usually when people come to me, they're, I suppose, wanting to know that something's okay. Like, if somebody's had somebody that's died, that's it's been a painful death, and they want to know that that person is not in pain anymore or something like that. So, where I can, I give the proof that, that whatever that message is that somebody's coming through. But it's funny because sometimes, I've had over the years I've been doing, giving messages to people. I can never guarantee, if people say, is there a certain way that somebody will come through or, how do they communicate with you or something like that? And I say, well, everybody's different. It's a bit like here. I'm in Mexico. And so when I'm trying to, if I don't know the translation of a word or I'm trying to say a word that I don't know, I'm going to try and in some way, here's the funny thing. I went to look for a swimsuit and I had forgotten to work out what the word was in Spanish for swimsuit. So I went into this big department store and there's me doing this like a vaudeville act of standing there as if I'm jumping into water and with, and the woman knew what I wanted. So sometimes that's how the communication happens with the clairvoyant or medium, that the person, the other side, is going to find a way that they can communicate with that person. And sometimes, I say it's like having a jigsaw puzzle without the picture on the box. I'm trying to piece together the information they're giving me. Maybe it's metaphors or symbols. Sometimes they'll give me words. Sometimes they'll give me names. And then we're trying to piece it together.
Uh-huh.
And I did a reading for somebody not so long ago. And the person in spirit, and it was quite comical because I'm going, oh, this is crazy. The person in spirit I knew wouldn't have been a gum chewing kind of person, but they were blowing bubbles like bubble gum and chewing gum and so forth. And I said to the guy, okay, I don't think this person would have done this when they were here, but they keep going on about bubble gum or chewing gum. And he said to me, my company name is, and I won't say the first part, but something gum. So the word gum was in there.
Oh, wow.
It had no relation to it whatsoever. But that was the only way. And, of course, the person in spirit was talking about this person's business.
Uh-huh.
And, so I love those kind of things because it's quite comical. And sometimes I have people that come through in very strange ways. And I was doing a reading for a lady and the person in spirit kept on coming through, and every other word was an expletive, with the S word being the expletive. And I thought, well, I can't say this to the person. So I was trying to tone it down a little bit. I couldn't say F this and F that, and because it was like every single other word was, and it was partly I was getting a little bit frustrated with the person because they're like, come on. And then because he was trying to explain to me who he was. And I said because the lady could see that I was trying to tone down. She said, just say what he's saying. And I said it to her in exactly verbatim with the F word being every second word. And she just laughed and she said, that's my brother. That was exactly how he would speak. Every second word was the F word.
Oh,
but
wow.
The funny part about that particular reading, when I'd finished with this lady and he was going, I said, well, okay, he's just flicked you the finger as he's leaving. And she broke down into she said every time I would say, I love you, goodbye, and he would flick the finger and just walk out of the room.
That is very...
Now, that was something I wouldn't have known, but that was something very personal to her, that in my trying to translate it, I was trying to not translate it because I'm going, I can't swear at this client, She's going to think I'm being rude here. And I'm certainly not going to flick the finger to her. But, yeah, people will come through in their own mannerisms that we would remember them as. And if somebody was a grumpy old soul when they were here, they're not going to come through as love and light and, all joy and bliss because you would go, no, that's not my grandpa. He wasn't like that. A bit like in, the Demi Moore and Patrick Swayze. Whoopi Goldberg kept on saying, he says he loves you. And she kept on saying, no, he wouldn't have said that. And as soon as he said the word ditto, she knew it was him. Because that was their word that they had. That was their signature to each other. And this can be very much like it with readings. And I'm blown away with some of the things when I finish a reading that, somebody's come through with. And, that's why I say, somebody says to me, is every reading the same? I'm going, no, it's absolutely different every time. I have no idea. It's like opening the Jack in a Box. I have no idea what's going to pop out. It can be fun. But yes, in answer to your question, yes, you can communicate with spirit. And I always say to people, you don't necessarily need to come and see somebody like myself. We do all have the ability. We're all psychic. And just to explain that, we've all had that situation where we have that, I haven't heard from so-and-so in a while. And then we'll bump into them or hear something about them and go, I was just thinking about that person. We've all had that. Or we'll get that sense to phone somebody. So it's, I said it's like our little spidey senses, our little psychic spidey senses, just from our guardian angel or our spirit angel, just saying, hey, you better just check in on them. So we do all have that. And everything when we're trying to connect with spirit is usually in love. So when we have that love connection with somebody that's passed into spirit, we can sit and talk to them. And I always say to people, the best way to do this, because we have such busy day-to-day lives, and a lot of times people say, well, I think my grandpa sent me a message today. I saw a feather, or I saw this little bird, or, there was a song that I heard that reminded me of him. And I said, well, of course, spirit sends you messages all the time. It's just that we're so busy in our day-to-day lives that sometimes we miss them.
Yeah.
So what I suggest to people, So I suggest to people that, about 5 minutes before you go to sleep, get your PJs on, have your teeth cleaned, be laying there in bed, no TV on, no electronics around you, switch them off, and just sit there for a moment and think about that person. Think about that love connection you had with them. And then as you go to sleep, what happens is they'll try and communicate with you. Now, I don't say this is going to happen first time. So don't assume that hitting the easy button is going to get you the results off the bat. But if you think about them and do this over a period of time, then you will connect with them. And you won't necessarily get the answers in verbatim, but you're going to get images or senses, that kind of thing. And it may be the next day that you might see something or hear something or get a sense of that person around you. So it is possible. Everybody can do this.
Wow. Now, have you ever had any spirits come to you and asking for your help for they could cross over?
You mean somebody that's in the process of dying?
No, they're already dead, and their spirit, Like,
Oh, right.
yeah,
Three
they're
lives
they're
or-
trapped, and they want to go to heaven or wherever you go when you die. I
Yeah.
mean,